whole background. I love covering the NBA as well. And I'm only bringing this up because I have been getting more nasty comments lately from my subscribers who are specifically here for WNBA content. And I think that's incredible that a lot of you, like so many of you, are here for the W content. But I guess all I'm asking is, if you see a video of a sport that you're not necessarily that interested in, like the NBA, all I'm asking is to please just not write a nasty comment just to write a nasty comment, because I'm actually seeing this from loyal subscribers that have been here for a while, and I just don't really understand it. So I'm just asking you, if you don't like the NBA content.
The screen went black, and the results were clear. One of the biggest stars in the league was not even in the top 5. Caitlin Clark, the player who has completely changed how the game is played, was missing from the WNBA's latest official rankings. This was not an error or a technical issue. It was a planned list showing the league's most dangerous players. The results shocked everyone. Fans couldn't believe it, and even experienced players spoke out, saying this was disrespectful to one of the brightest new stars in the game.
And I wasn't so happy with it. And I didn't think it was great injury reporting, and I also stand on that. I stand by that. I think they did a poor job with the injury reporting. Now, Caitlin Clark came out and she said that it was actually her decision. Her parents knew 20 minutes before we knew that she wasn't going to be playing in that game. She didn't practice the day before, and she thought that she was going to play. And then before the game, I think it was a mix of her mental and physical and just not kind of feeling ready to go out there. And obviously with all of the injuries that she suffered last season, just kind of playing it safe. So it was her call. It wasn't anything malicious on the front office or the coaching staff or whatever. Doesn't make the injury report.
This was not just a normal list. It was the new WNBA gravity chart, created to show which players truly control the court. In basketball, gravity means how much a player pulls defenders toward them and creates space for teammates. When people think about gravity, they think of Caitlin Clark hitting deep shots and drawing multiple defenders. But when the official rankings came out, her name was far lower than expected, even below players many casual fans don't know well. This result has created a lot of discussion and confusion.
Questionable or probable or just one of those things, you know. In that video, there were clips that came out of it, and there was a lot of media who were writing about the things that I said, and there were headlines that were like, Rachel Demita demands for the whole Indiana Fever staff to be fired. And it's like, I normally don't address things like this. I see those kind of articles all the time, and people are going to clip my show. I know that we have a big voice in this space, and I think that's amazing, but at the same time, like, that just wasn't true. And on a personal level, I wanted to clear the air there because I actually know people on the Fever's training staff who I think are incredible coaches. Like, we had coach.
If you look at the top of the list, you see names like Satu Saberly, Marina Mabrey, and Kayla McBride. These are great players, no doubt. But putting them above the most talked about young star in the league has caused a big debate. The league says gravity measures how much a player attracts defenders more than expected. If that is true, then why isn't the player who gets defended from full court ranked number 1? It makes people feel like her real impact is being ignored.
Something that I saw from the WNBA, and I thought this was so interesting. So they actually started a player gravity chart where they're kind of ranking players based on their gravity on the floor. And this is how the WNBA defines it. They said gravity quantifies how much a player pulls defenders towards them above expected, essentially measuring how much attention they draw compared to what the spacing on the floor predicts. And we've talked about gravity so much, especially when it comes to Caitlin Clark and just how other teams have to change their defensive strategies, how she's picked up 94 feet, how obviously she can shoot from the logo. And we see that even in the end.
The numbers become even more confusing when you look deeper. Caitlin's on-ball gravity is very high, around 5.3, which means defenders focus heavily on her when she has the ball. This is something everyone can clearly see during games. However, the ranking is based more on off-ball movement, and that is where her score drops a lot. Critics say this method is unfair, especially for a point guard who controls the offense. It is like judging a pilot for not sitting in the back of the plane.
Long bombs, and we hadn't seen a player like that before. So I want to share with you guys the current list and some of these top players. So Sonia Citron is actually at the top of this list. Marina Mabrey, then Kayla McBride, then Ryan Howard, then Kalia Copper. I thought that this was so interesting because Caitlin Clark is far down this list. And I think when we think about gravity, we think that she is that number one player because of how many teams shift their defenses to adapt to Caitlin. But what I thought was so interesting about this equation that they're kind of using, so they have on-ball gravity and then they have off-ball gravity. I will also...
This chart is not just something made for social media. It shows how the league views its players. By ranking Caitlin Clark so low, it sends a message that her presence does not affect defenses as much as people think. This has started strong debates among players who actually have to guard her on the court. Defenders know how difficult it is to keep up with her. There is a clear gap between what the data says and what people see in real games.
Right now is 4 wins and 3 losses, and the Liberty are 3-4 on the season. Now, if we remember at the beginning of this season, the Liberty kind of created a super team. Now, they haven't been healthy through their first 7 games of the season. Satu Sabali isn't playing like herself. She went out in the last game against the Portland Fire with some sort of illness, and I don't even know the update there. Sabrina's been out for some of these games. Jonquel Jones isn't playing like herself. Like, the Liberty just is not looking like a cohesive unit, and for a team that went out and essentially created a stacked roster with the players that they were able to bring.
Now think about how veteran players feel about this. A star like Aja Wilson might see these new statistics and feel frustrated. Many experienced players believe the game is being made more complicated than it needs to be. They already know who the real threats are. When a chart suggests that one of the most heavily guarded players is not a top threat, it feels like the analysts are not watching the same game as the players.
But obviously the number 1 pick in this year's draft, she went to the Dallas Wings, but she has not been starting. And there's been a lot of fans wondering, like, was this the correct number 1 pick? Why isn't she starting? She has a slow start this season. She hasn't been getting very many minutes. She hasn't scored that many points. Like, what's going on with AZ Fudd? And she proved everyone wrong in this game. So this was actually a game also against the New York Liberty where she had 17 points in the 3rd quarter alone, and she broke the WNBA record for the most threes made in a single quarter. So she made 5 threes in this quarter, and the Dallas Wings ended up beating the New York Liberty. She ended the game.
The timing of this ranking also matters. The Indiana Fever have been under heavy attention since the draft, and every move they make is closely watched. Releasing a chart right now that lowers Caitlin's importance feels very intentional. It adds to the idea that there may be pressure to keep her from rising too fast. But on the court, the reality is very different. Teams are changing their entire defense just to stop her. Still, according to the numbers, she is only average, which does not match what everyone is seeing.
I was getting the notifications. I'm like, oh, Kennedy Carter with another 60 ball playing overseas. And then she comes and plays for the Aces. It seems like she's playing with so much more composure than she even had in 2024. She handles the ball so well, like ISO player, nearly impossible to guard. And she is averaging 20 points per game off of the bench. And she's not even getting a crazy amount of minutes for the Las Vegas Aces. I feel like that might change throughout the season. But the 6th man of the year race, that is also going to be something that I'll keep my eye out on, because it's going to be fun. Like, there's a lot of great players who are coming off the bench right now for these WNBA teams. But with that, you guys, that's all that I have for you.
While people are busy arguing about the rankings, the New York Liberty are dealing with a serious problem that no one expected. They were supposed to be the strongest team this season, full of star players and ready to easily win the title. But instead, they are struggling and even losing to a brand new team. The Portland Fire, who many believed would barely win a few games all season, have actually beaten the Liberty in their matchups. This completely changes what people thought about the league. It shows that big names on paper do not guarantee success anymore. The Liberty have stars like Brianna Stewart and Sabrina Ionescu, yet they are losing to a team playing without pressure. The Fire are playing freely, with energy and confidence, while the Liberty seem weighed down by expectations. This proves that teamwork and chemistry can be more important than having famous players. It's becoming a true underdog story. This also connects back to the idea of gravity in basketball. If Liberty players are ranked so high, why can't they stop a new team from beating them? It suggests that these stats might be missing something important, like effort and mindset. You can measure distance and positioning, but you cannot measure a player's heart. A player like Ashley Barker has been coming off the bench for Portland and hitting clutch shots that silence entire arenas. That kind of impact cannot always be shown in numbers. At the same time, the race for 6th Woman of the Year is getting very intense. Many strong players are coming off the bench and still dominating games. Take Kennedy Carter from the Las Vegas Aces as an example. She could easily start on most teams, yet she is scoring around 20 points even with limited minutes. She even played overseas and scored huge numbers, then returned stronger and more confident. Another big surprise was Azzi Fudd finally having her breakout game. Fans had started to question her performance and playing time, wondering if she deserved her top draft position. But in one game against the Liberty, she completely changed the narrative. She scored 17 points in just one quarter and set a record for the most three-pointers in a single quarter. She finished the game with 24 points along with steals and blocks, showing she is ready to lead her team. Her performance proved that young talent in the league is very deep. When she gets into rhythm, her impact is obvious, even if stats don't fully show it. Meanwhile, experienced players are starting to feel more pressure as younger players rise quickly. Competition in the league has never been this strong. Off the court, there is also drama, especially about injury reports. The Indiana Fever recently received a warning from the league because of how they handled Caitlin Clark's status before a game. They announced she would not play just 90 minutes before the game started, which upset fans and caused confusion. The league wants teams to be more clear and transparent. With so much attention on Caitlin, the Fever cannot afford mistakes like this. Reports suggest that proper communication is important not just for rules, but also to protect star players. There were even rumors that people were blaming the coaching staff, though that may be exaggerated. The pressure to keep Caitlin healthy is very high because the league depends on her presence. Caitlin later explained that sitting out was her own decision due to physical and mental fatigue. She has been dealing with injuries and did not feel ready to play. However, the issue was that the team did not update her status earlier. This shows how much attention the Fever are getting now. Every small decision becomes big news. At the same time, a new international player recently made her debut and impressed everyone. A young star from France joined the Valkyries and scored immediately on her first play. Even at just 19 years old, she plays with the confidence and skill of a veteran. Her smooth style and control show how quickly new talent is rising. The success of expansion teams like Portland and the arrival of international players prove that the WNBA is changing very fast. The old system, where only a few teams dominated, is no longer the same. Now, any team can win, and young players are competing with established stars. This makes the league exciting but also increases pressure on rankings and statistics. Fans today are very passionate and quick to react. If they feel a player like Caitlin Clark is being treated unfairly, they will speak out loudly. This passion helps grow the league but also creates pressure for players and media. The league is trying to keep up by using new stats like the gravity chart, but sometimes it feels too complicated. Fans don't need numbers to tell them what they can already see. Watching Caitlin shoot from long distance and draw multiple defenders says everything. As the season continues, rankings will change and new players will rise. But people will not forget that Caitlin Clark was left out of the top tier. This will remain a big talking point until the stats match what happens on the court. She has already broken records, and now she may have to prove herself against the system itself. A new era is clearly beginning, where new teams beat strong teams and young players shine brighter than veterans. The league is becoming more unpredictable than ever. In the end, the debate about Caitlin being left off the top rankings actually shows how important she is. People don't argue this much about players who don't matter. Whether stats agree or not, her impact is real. The game is changing, fans are more involved, and everything is moving faster. Numbers might not always tell the full truth, but the reaction of the crowd never lies. The real story is happening on the court, and that is where history is being made.